Hello and welcome to another video. So, as you've probably guessed from the title, this is my most anticipated sequels that are being released in 2021. Now, this video was originally going to be one big video with all my anticipated releases for 2021. However, after looking through my list, there is a lot. So I'm splitting this into two separate videos, which will be my anticipated sequels, which is this video, and then you will also be seeing my anticipated first in a series or standalones. So this is going to be my sequels. I have quite a big list. This is not even all of them. This is just the ones that I know for definite the release dates. It's going to be a busy year. So let's just get stuck in. So the first book on my anticipated releases comes out on the 26th of January, and that is A Vow So Bold and Deadly by Brigid Kemmerer. Now, this is the third book in the Cursebreakers trilogy, which is A Curse of Dark and Lonely and A Heart So Fierce and Broken. And I am so excited to see how the trilogy wraps up. I already know from Brigid's tweets this book is going to rip my heart out, but you know what? I'm ready for that. I'm ready for this. I'm excited to see how the series wraps up, and I've got it pre-ordered, so I'll be reading it almost immediately after receiving it. Next up is another January 26th release, and that is The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon. Now, this book, I am so excited for. Now, I have not had to wait for this. This is the fourth book in the Bone Season series, and I know for a fact I have not had to wait for as long as a lot of other people, because I only discovered the Bone Season series in 2019, and I read the first book, and then in 2020 I read books 2, 3 and 3.5. So I've not had to wait as long as some other people, and I do actually have an e-arc of this, so hopefully I will be getting to it before release. That's my aim, and hopefully I can, but I'm very excited to see how this goes because of how the third book ended. I know it's going to break my heart because I've seen a few people's reactions to reading the arcs and my heart's not ready. But I'm so excited for this. This is such a brilliant world. It's got everything in there that you could want. It's got like a dystopian feel, sci-fi, a bit of fantasy. Like, it's everything you want, and I am ready for book 4. Next up is a February the 4th release, and that is A Tangle of Spells by Michelle Harrison. Now, this is the third book in the Pinch of Magic series, where we follow the Widdersham sisters, and I have absolutely adored A Pinch of Magic and Sprinkle of Sorcery. It is one of my favourite middle grade series. It's so lovely. I love the three sisters. They're amazing, and I'm so excited at how this trilogy is going to end because Michelle Harrison just has such a way of writing, and I'm excited to see what they get up to in this book because they have some adventures. Next up is a February the 16th release, and it is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas. Now, if you watch my vlogs and everything and my wrap-ups, you all know that I absolutely adore the ACOTAR series. It's one of my favourite series, and I am so excited for this book because in this book we have Nesta and Cassian, and yes, I cannot wait to see what they get up to. I'm hoping for some steamy scenes. If there's not some steamy scenes, I'm knocking a star off. But I have no doubt that there will be steamy scenes in this, and I am ready for them so badly. Although I'm not a massive fan of the new covers, I was lucky enough to be able to get a copy of the Tor edition, which is actually a pretty nice cover. So I'm more than okay with having that one on my shelf. But I also have seen that Illumicrate is going to be releasing a Court of Silver Flames mini box, which will have a set of dust jackets in, which will be different to the actual standard covers. So I'm excited to have some beautiful editions on my shelf. Next up is the first of many March releases. So this is March the 2nd, and it is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. Now, Cassandra Clare is my second favourite author. I absolutely adore the Shadowhunters series. It is everything. I have multiple copies of almost all of the books, and this is the sequel to Chain of Gold, which follows the children of the main characters in the Infernal Devices, which was the very earliest set series. So I am really excited to see what Cordelia and James and that get up to in this book. I know it's going to make me cry because I don't think there's ever been a Cassie book that hasn't made me cry, but I am excited to do a reread of Chain of Gold for the third time, reading it for the third time before Chain of Iron comes out. So I'm excited to get to Chain of Iron like the moment it arrives on my doorstep. The second book that's being released on March the 2nd is Phoenix Flame by Sarah Holland. So this book, Havenfall, was my favourite book of 2020. #1 spot, favourite book. So I'm very excited to get to Phoenix Flame. The cover for it is absolutely stunning, like absolutely incredible, and I am hoping to reread Havenfall this month or next month, but I do also have an e-arc of Phoenix Flame, so I'm hoping to reread Havenfall and then I will be diving straight into Phoenix Flame the moment I finish Havenfall. So here's hoping I can get to it before the actual release date. And the final March the 2nd release I have on my list is Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab. So this is the third book in Victoria Schwab's middle grade series, which follows Cassidy, who basically is a ghost hunter, which I am loving. And her best friend is a ghost, which is even better. So obviously the first book is City of Ghosts, the second book is Tunnel of Bones, and then book 3 is Bridge of Souls, and we have been waiting a little bit longer for this one. Tunnel of Bones come out about 1.5 years ago, I think. The original release date for Bridge of Souls was September last year, but because of 2020, it got pushed back and it is now coming out on March the 2nd, and I cannot wait to continue this series. It is such a good middle grade series and I absolutely love Victoria's writing. She is incredible. On March 9th, we have City of Spells by Alexandra Christo. So this is the sequel to Into the Crooked Place, which came out about 1.5 years ago, and this is so cool. It has a heist, it has magic, and it has a found family, and it's literally everything I love in a book. And I love Alexandra Christo's writing. I think she's such an amazing writer, and yeah, I'm really excited to continue this series. I'm not sure if it's a duology or a trilogy, but if it's a duology, then I'll also get to finish another series this year, so that is a plus. But yeah. Then on March 30th, which is the day before my birthday, we have Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. This is the sequel to The King of Scars, which is the first book in the Nikolai duology. I absolutely love Nikolai. He's one of my favourite characters from the Grisha universe, and King of Scars was such a good book, and I love how it was done. I loved the story of it and I thought it was just brilliantly executed, and I am very excited to read this. Again, this is one I think is a duology, and I have no doubt that I'll be reading it as soon as I get it because I need it in my life. And then the final March release I have is actually my birthday, which is March 31st, and that is Witches of Barcelona by Kaedyss Knight. This is the sequel to Vampires of Moscow, which is, it's basically two authors that have come together to write this, and they are Kaedyss Knight, and it is so good. So obviously this series has everything. It has witches, it has vampires, it has shifters, and I love it so much. It was so good and I cannot wait to get my hands on the second book. I also have the novella, which I'll be reading before book 2 comes out, and that is called Sirens of Los Angeles, which I'm very excited to get my teeth into. Like, yes, but this is such a good book and I'm so excited to see how the second book goes, especially from how the first book ended. So I definitely recommend this one because it's so good and it has some really good smut in the first book. So the next book is April the 8th, and that is Vulture by Bex Hogan. So this is the third book in the Isles of Storm and Shadow series, which is Viper, Venom, and then Vulture. I love this. It has pirates, and that's all I need to say about it. It is incredible. The storyline is like... It likes to rip my heart out and destroy it a little bit, but it is such a good series. Bex Hogan is an incredible writer, and I have absolutely no idea how this series is going to conclude in Vulture, but I cannot wait to read it. And the cover is green, like my favourite colour. The first book was purple, the second book was red, and the third book's green. I am here for it. So excited, and just I'm going to devour it the moment I get my hands on it. And then the last book on this list is out on May the 11th. And it is Illusionary by Zoraida Cordova. So this is the sequel to Incendiary, which I read last year after getting it in a Fairy Loot box. And it was such a good book. There was mystery, there was magic, and it was just absolutely incredible. And I have no idea where this series is gonna go, and I am dying to get my hands on the sequel. Like, the moment I finished the first book, I was like, I need the sequel now. But I've had to wait because I read that months ago, and I've had to wait, and I cannot wait for May when the sequel comes out, and yay. Okay, so that was all of them. That is not actually all of the sequels I am anticipating in 2021. This is just the ones that I know are coming out between January and May. I do have a couple more on my list, but they are for after May, so I'm going to do a separate video a bit later on in the year when I've built up a bit of a list for later in the year for that. So for now, we're going to stick with the first 5 months of the year, and check back in with me in a few months and I'll give you more anticipated sequels. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If there's any sequels you are looking forward to, let me know, because I do feel like I have missed quite a few. I have started so many series, especially books that are like the first in a series that's coming out, a book box, and I've read it, and then I have guaranteed I have forgotten some. So let me know what sequels you are anticipating that are coming out in 2021. Doesn't have to just be in the first 5 months. And let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Bye.